Have you ever picked up a hitchhiker? What if I told you that one simple act of kindness could have led to your worst nightmare? This isn't just a story about a ride to the city. It's about a chance encounter, a split-second decision, and a chilling confession that'll stay with you long after the story ends. Trust me, by the time you're done listening, you'll never look at a stranger on the side of the road the same way again. This was told to me by an old family friend numerous times as a child growing up, as one of those life advice stories to keep in mind through the years, and to their credit, I have never forgotten it. Whenever anything associated with hitchhiking comes up, it always springs to mind, and probably always will. It makes me feel a bit ill whenever I think about it, to be honest. The story takes place during the early 1980s, a time when things felt simpler, but just as sinister if you looked closely enough. The storyteller, a kind-hearted soul with a genuine willingness to help anyone struggling, was a woman in her mid-20s, always the type to give the stranger the benefit of the doubt, always the type to see the best in people. And I can't imagine her ever being any different, which is probably what led to the events that haunted her forever. She was driving into the city one afternoon, a trip that was about 2 hours from her small, sleepy hometown. The road was winding and the air felt colder than it should for this time of year, carrying with it the faint smell of damp leaves and exhaust. As she drove, she saw a figure walking down the side of the road, a thin, lonely man in a worn-out flannel jacket, thumbs sticking out in that age-old hitchhiker gesture. The figure came into view as she slowed her car, the gravel crunching under her tires. She couldn't help but feel a strange tug in her chest, compassion perhaps, or the small voice of curiosity. When she pulled to the side, the man turned to face her, his face partially obscured by the shadows from the overcast sky. "Need a ride?" she asked, the words light and casual, a genuine offer to help. The man hesitated briefly, as though unsure if this was truly happening, before stepping forward. His voice, when he spoke, was soft and polite. He wasn't overly assertive, but he didn't sound timid either. He was friendly in that way that was disarming, his words light and conversational, as he told her he was trying to make his way into the city. He seemed unassuming enough, shy even. After they exchanged pleasantries, the car started down the highway again. They chatted during the trip, mostly about small things, mutual friends, the news, the weather, small talk that filled the spaces between stretches of road, and the occasional hum of the engine. It was easy, light, and felt good, like driving with an old friend. She could feel herself relaxing into the rhythm of the journey. About halfway through the trip, they stopped at a pit stop, a small rest area that offered a restroom and a little diner. She paid for both their meals without a second thought, her kindness evident in the easy smile she offered. The man seemed grateful, though a little awkward, glancing down at his worn shoes as she paid. They spoke about money during their conversation, and he explained how tight things had been lately, how much he was struggling. His voice sounded genuine, the words tinged with vulnerability. When they returned to the car, the conversation continued until they finally drove into the city. The air was heavier here, the streets bustling with activity, lights, and movement. When they pulled into downtown, the man thanked her profusely for both the ride and the dinner. He was charming in a way that didn't feel forced, just simple gratitude, and as he prepared to get out of the car, he asked for her phone number. He said he'd like to contact her sometime, maybe to catch up, to share how things were going. She wrote the number down for him with a smile, not thinking much of it. He tossed his bag into the back seat, adjusted his seatbelt, and waved as he closed the door. She felt good about her small act of kindness as she drove off, the sensation of having done something good filling her chest. But the story didn't end there, as you might expect. A week later, her phone rang. The sound came late at night, piercing the quiet stillness of her house, and she picked it up without thinking much of it. "Hello?" The voice came quickly, rushed and loud, slicing through the static. Before she could say anything else, the voice on the other end was already speaking, fast, unyielding, as if trying to get it all out at once. The words came in a jumbled torrent, a confession of sorts. They told her that she should thank whatever God she believed in, that she was raised the way that she was. That when he had first climbed into her car, when they first started down the road toward the pit stop, he had planned to kill her, to end her life, to steal her car, to dump her body by the side of some unmarked road and go on his way. The voice grew heavier with each word, the tone dropping into a raspy, almost broken cadence. He explained that it would have been so easy. She would have never had a chance, and yet, as the conversation went on, light and kind, filled with a meal and laughter, something had changed. Her kindness, her warmth, her smile had shifted something in him. He couldn't do it. He couldn't live with himself. "I couldn't go through with it," he said, the words jagged and broken now. "You were too nice. You gave me dinner. You talked to me with kindness. I couldn't hurt you. I couldn't." There was a pause on the other end of the line. She could hear his breathing, labored in panic. "And please, please," he whispered, "never pick up another hitchhiker." The line went dead. She sat there staring at the phone, her heart pounding in her chest. Her hands trembled as she set the receiver down, her mind trying to make sense of what she had just heard. The voice lingered in her head, scraping at the edges of her thoughts. She tried to call him back, her fingers trembling against the numbers she dialed, but the line led to nothing, only the cold, distant sound of a payphone. No one answered. From that day forward, she never picked up another hitchhiker, and whenever she thinks about that night, about the voice and the story, the chill returns to her bones. Sometimes she wonders what might have happened if she hadn't been lucky enough to offer kindness, if that stranger's plan had gone through. The question lives with her, haunting her when the roads are dark and the air is colder than it should be. And so the man remains a faceless figure, a mystery, his words forever etched into her memory. She swore after that night that she would never make that same mistake again. And I have to admit, hearing the story all these years later, I can't imagine ever making that mistake either. Never, ever pick up a hitchhiker. And the thought makes my stomach twist every time I drive past a stranger on the side of the road. Well, that's it for tonight's story. I hope it left you with the same unsettling feeling it gave me the first time I heard it. If you enjoyed this tale, and you're brave enough to stick around for more, make sure to like this video, comment your thoughts or theories below, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a story. Stay safe out there, and remember, sometimes kindness can lead you down the darkest roads. Until next time.